Welcome to the most advanced harmonic lessons there are. Some people change when they see the light. Others change when they feel the heat. Carolyn Schroeder. You needed to ask in a bigger way. The first postgraduate advanced level is understanding why you experience big contrasts that didn't seem to serve a purpose, and you can't figure out how or why you rendezvoused with it. The whole purpose of this life is joy, and life has contrasting experiences which are good because only in that contrasting experience do you have the clarity needed to ask, and then harmonizing and receiving more. It's a literal required step in the process. Now, some people really want to receive something really, really big. It is their heart of heart desires. They just don't want a good relationship. They want an amazing, outrageous, mind-blowing, jaw-dropping relationship. Or they don't want just a comfortable life. They want multiple mansions, the jets, the vacations. And some people just don't want a body free from pain. They want a fantastic-looking body and performing body that can do amazing things that everyone is in awe of the beauty and the health and the vitality they have. And you sort of see where this is going. In order to receive in those big ways, they need to ask in similar big ways. In order to inspire big asking, they are going to need some big contrast. And contrast isn't a very fun thing to go through. However, when you understand harmonic laws, you give meaning and purpose to the contrast. Without asking in a big way, you could never receive in a big way. When you give meaning, you can endure anything. Viktor Frankl. So if you are in the middle of big contrast, give it meaning. That one shift alone can help change how you feel about your current contrasting situation. And in that moment, now the contrasting situation is on its way out. It served its purpose, and now you can put all your focus on what you do want and relish in the joy that how bitter was the contrast is equivalent to how sweet will be the rendezvous. Why bad things happen to good people. Certainly, when people learn harmony, they start to think, wait, what about little babies? How would they harmonically align with unwanted things? Or why do bad things happen to good people? First of all, is there any philosophy on earth that has satisfying answers to those questions? Let's review. If you believe in a benevolent God, why would God do that? Right? That's not satisfying. If you believe in a malevolent God, what a jerk, right? That's also not satisfying. If you believe in no God and it's all just random, well, that's not satisfying either. If you believe in only science and everything has an action and equal reaction, but what action was taken to permit that action, that doesn't make any sense and it's not satisfying. Many take the science route and put a willful ignorance blind eye to bad things and just call it random. Yes, they experience cognitive dissonance knowing that everything happens logically for a reason, but bad things are somehow outside the scope of science, and it's the one exception in all the universe. It's the only random thing. Well, that's not satisfying either. I wholeheartedly agree that no philosophy has truly universal satisfying answers to these questions, including this one. Maybe there are pre-birth intentions. Maybe there are pre-life planning sessions where they wanted to hit the ground running with early contrasting experiences, thus helping them ask sooner and in a stronger way so they could get an answer sooner than others. Maybe before we came, we didn't have the value judgments humans have on this earth about badness of contrasting experiences. Maybe they intended to be a great teacher on the subject, and in order to have credibility, they had to go through some of these experiences first, which they viewed as a small price to pay. I personally find some of those theories satisfying, but there's a whole lot of evidence of things like that. But who really knows, right? I don't argue about unprovable things. But regardless of where you stand, do you know what harmonic theory gives you? The feeling of control. Next, I'm going to talk about how unbelievably important it is for the notion of being in control of your life. If you don't feel like you have control, it will literally kill you decades sooner. It'll allow atypical diseases to ravish your body and destroy your mental health. It'll hinder all of your relationships. But if you take the highest and most noble stance of empowerment, saying, I did that, you win. You win every single time. Something seemingly unwanted happens to you. You have control over your options. You can say, 1, I'm sure appreciative my guidance is working. Or 2, this manifestation gives me a clear indicator of where I am. Or 3, I am thankful for this indicator so I can adjust my harmony before something really bad happens. That's a lot of control and empowerment, which is what this is all about. Many people get upset because harmonic theory isn't satisfying to outlier conditions. Blame feels better than guilt. The most irresistible siren song of the entire human experience is this: it's not your fault. And the press is capitalizing on this and seducing people to take the instantly addictive drug of victimhood and victimize themselves. But when you take this drug, there is immediate and instantaneous pleasure that washes over the addict. And they come back for more and more, because like all addictive substances, you can never get enough. And anyone who threatens to take away your drug of choice will be met with insane and vicious backlash. The pattern is literally identical to cocaine, meth, and heroin. Don't take the irresistible victim mentality drug. The high is pleasurable but will wreck your life in the end. Take their harmonic control medicine instead. It's a bitter pill to swallow at first, but will enable you to have the life you've always wanted in the end. Science has discovered there is an interesting foundational factor that highly correlates with people's happiness, success, health, quality of relationships, and every aspect of people's lives. That one correlate is the feeling of control. That's right, the more control people feel like they have in their lives, the better every single aspect of their life goes. I bring this up because the law of harmony allows people to theoretically have complete control over their life. Any philosophy that gives control to outside forces isn't going to serve that person very well. People psychologically construct their lives in 2 philosophical groups. The first group may be estimated to be about 40 to 50% of the population. These people have what is classified as an internal locus of control, meaning they simply feel like they have control over their own outcomes. The ramifications of this mere belief leads them to take responsibility for their own health, engage in healthy behaviors, practice effective coping strategies, and have a positive outlook on life. The majority group, though, estimated to be 50 to 60%, has what's classified to be an external locus of control. They blame external factors on their problems. They have ineffective coping strategies. They aren't proactive about their life or health. And they have a more negative outlook on life. Both get to be correct in their own lives. Internals have an internal locus of control and feel they control their personal destiny. Externals place control external to themselves and look outside themselves for answers, support, and guidance. In general, then, internals acquire more information and are better at retaining and utilizing it to control their own world. Internals are less suggestible and more independent and more reliant on their own judgment. They, in contrast to externals, evaluate information based on its merit than responding on the basis of the prestige or experience of the source of information. Internals are more likely to be high achievers and more likely to delay gratification so as to obtain a larger rewards at a later date. Externals are far more suggestible, tend more often to be smokers, to take high risks at gamblings, and are lower in achievement, dominance, endurance, and higher in desiring succor from others and self-abasement. Individuals with external locus of control are more likely to have demonstrable psychopathology than individuals with internal locus of control. Individuals with high external locus of control are more likely to feel inadequate, more anxious, more hostile, fatigued, confused, depressed, have less vigor and resiliency. Severely impaired psychiatric patients are more likely to be externals. Schizophrenics are more likely to be externals. A great deal of research demonstrates a strong relationship between external locus of control, depression, death, and anxiety. Its very nature spawns additional pathology. The belief that one's life is controlled by external forces is associated with a sense of powerlessness, ineffectualness, and low self-regard. Externals will argue that it's not their philosophical viewpoint. They are literally being oppressed by outside forces. They will have hard, verified evidence to support their position that the law of harmony ensures. Just like you get to listen to whatever song your radio station is tuned to. But let's see how this plays out in real life. There was a huge long-term study performed on British civil servants. As you know, in the British Isles, they have free healthcare, so nobody's feeling anxious about health insurance like Americans. But they wanted to answer the question, how does your work affect your health? They interviewed 18,000 civil servants and did a one-on-one interview that would last an hour. You can see how long this project and interviews alone must have taken them. They studied who would be happier and healthier by looking at things like who is more likely to have a heart attack. Since they would have full access to their health records, it made for an excellent study. Initially, they postulated that some results would denote people at the top would have the most stress, or the most people at the bottom making the least would have the most stress. But the correlating factors shocked them. It wasn't correlated with income, education, job stability, job risk, or how important their position was. Their health was directly associated with how much control their job gave them in how to perform their work. People with no control were 400% more likely to have a heart attack, be depressed, commit suicide, or die. People doing the same job at the same pay, at the same status, in the same office, who were given a high degree of control would be significantly less likely to get sick, suffer depression, or any other kind of emotional distress. Workers higher up with more control had more friends and social activity after work. The ones with no control just wanted to go home, watch TV, because the lack of control has a psychological deadening effect on people. Do you remember the emotional scale from the Law of Harmony video? It makes perfect sense that science confirms it is at the very bottom, disempowerment. It is deadly in every sense of the word. The concept of stressful work needs to go through a revolution. It's not about the quality or quantity of responsibility. It's all about a feeling of being empowered in your life.
Quote, control alters not only our physiological response to stress, but also our ability to persist. When we believe we have an influence over an outcome, we're more likely to persevere even if we face a setback.
In the 1960s, Martin Seligman and Stephen Mayer performed experiments seeing the effect on shocking dogs. One experiment giving them control, the dogs could press a lever or jump over a barrier to avoid the shocks, and one where they couldn't. After a few uncomfortable shocks, the dogs developed what they called learned helplessness, meaning that even when they were given the ability to jump out or press a lever, they didn't. They all resigned to their fate. This stress response has terrifying consequences for the health of animals and us as well. All diseases flourish with a never-before-seen speed and aggression until death. Sadly, the CIA took note on what these controlling, micromanaging bosses, military leaders, spouses, or teachers do and incorporated this into torture techniques, as they hope to eliminate any, quote, sense of control and predictability. It's sad that so many people's lives can be literally compared to CIA-level torture. Quote, Lack of control extinguishes the flame of even the most motivated. Who knew the feeling of control was such a high correlate to your mental, physical, and success in life? It's pivotal. Whatever philosophy you have in life, make sure it gives you the most control possible. The feeling of control and empowerment are absolutely essential for a happy life. Remember this foundational fact going forward.